September, you discussed the tax rate last month in August. The enclosed resolution, we drafted a resolution, we will execute it once you adopt, but it is for the effective tax rate, which is not a tax increase or a tax decrease. The new effective tax rate is 0.22597. 93. We usually got off the 3 for us, so that's what I put on my memo. We only go so many decimal places, but Dr. Durance is correct. For $100 property valuation. So the motion to accept that, it's the effective tax rate, which the actual hard value of that rate is lower than the prior year, which is 0.23202 per $100. So that means that property values have increased just a little bit. And so we're asking that you take a record vote. On the memo, you will have the motion. Whoever wants to make that motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion. I move that the property taxes not be increased and that the effective tax rate be adopted, which is the rate of 0.2259793 per $100 valuation. So, wow.
Has been moved. Who seconded?
Clem.
Clem. Would you, Madam Secretary, please read the resolution?
Whereas College of the Mainland proposes to decrease taxes by 0.9378% and set a rate of 0.2259793 for every $100 property valuation for the 2012 tax year for operations and maintenance. Whereas this tax rate will reduce taxes for maintenance and operations compared to last year's rate. Whereas the tax rate will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $0. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of College of the Mainland that the 2012 tax rate be set at 0.2259793 for every $100 property valuation for maintenance and operations.
We will have a record vote on this. I'll ask the clerk for approval to call the roll, and if you will, voice your vote at the same time for the motion and resolution before us.
Ronnie McCrary,
Yes?
Rosalie Cutler,
Yes.
Fannie Matthews,
Yes.
Wayne Miles,
Yes.
Nick Stepchinsky,
Yes.
Clement Prevost,
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. That motion is approved and stands at record. And I'll be willing to sign that as soon as we have an opportunity to get that resolution out. Thank you very much. Consideration and possible exception of the TASB update number 27. Dr. Durance.
Update 27, this is the update of the board's policy manual that is prepared by the Texas Association of School Boards, and it basically includes clarification of any existing materials and new legal materials. In other words, if there have been changes in the legal material. And we distributed this voluminous update to you a couple of months ago, and we didn't think that you would want to immediately pass on it, so we have waited until this time. But the things that they looked at in this were things that address institutional effectiveness, board member eligibility and qualifications, elections, board member orientation and training, selection and duties of chief tax officials, ad valorem taxes, investments, accounting, financial reports, inventories and audits, facilities construction, intellectual property, technological resources, reductions in force, employment requirements and restrictions, public information access and request, and student welfare. So we are required to accept these updates.
Yes.
Unless we have some questions.
No, just to add, so it's clear for the board, this is an update, so what you're accepting is that this may require additions to your current policies, it might require deletions to your current policy, it might require modifications to your current policy to come in compliance with update number 27.
But we should go ahead and approve this.
Yes, ma'am.
So new policy writers will go back and
Right,
make
we'll
the necessary.
Exactly, we begin to go through and try to identify the issues to determine if we really have.
And their instructions for each policy will designate whether it should replace your current policy, whether it's a new addition, or whether you should delete a policy in accordance with update number 27.
I move that, we approve TASB update 27.
Second.
Has been moved, has been seconded. It's kind of like an improved Heinz 57, it's got everything. Any further discussion?
One
Yes.
question. Dr. Durance, in effect, does TASB provide this service for us and we accept the service? Is that how how does it work procedurally?
Well, they basically advise us of changes, and then it is up to us, that is the administration to review and the board to approve the changes. But, I mean, this is really the guidance that will enable us to do that.
Are there other people beside TASB that provide that service, or?
I don't know, every community college that I'm aware of uses TASB as kind of the model policy for the 50 community colleges. And you may know if there's somebody else who does that.
TASB is an agency that provides a policy update resource. You pay TASB an annual contract, I believe, to maintain your policies for you. I'm not aware of any other entities that do it. What we do as board counsel is we supplement what TASB does, because TASB's is more of a wholesale service, whereas we're more familiar with how your policies actually work on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes we do, as you know, suggest revisions to the policies that come before the board. Because theirs tend to be more comprehensive in nature across the board that may not be particular to what this college does every day with respect to how it operates.
I'm sorry.
So TASB does provide, a good service in going through on a wholesale basis, every policy to say legal changes ought to be made. That really does need to be tweaked if you do have TASB policies, so that they're modified to reflect how each individual institution handles their business. So that's why before the administration recommends a policy to the board, even if it comes from TASB, we do review it, because we're more in tune with what's happening day to day at the institution.
Once we accept this, then we're bound by,
Well, what you're accepting is you're essentially accepting the legal portions of the policy, which come directly from the statute, so there's really no modification there. Your local version actually dictates what the college does and how those legal policies are implemented. We actually provide you some input on your local policies before the board approves them.
Right. Anytime there's a policy revision, we always give you, this is what the legal is, and this is how we apply that locally. And of course, regulations, just.
Yes, Benny?
I wanted to ask Johnson, I know you know, doesn't rather TASB give guidance to K-12s also?
They do.
So we're not alone in this, as community colleges. I don't know about, beyond.
And to the extent that chapter 130 does not have specific guidance, and chapter 130 is the chapter that specifically applies to junior and community colleges. To the extent it's not covered in chapter 130, then chapter 44 and other chapters that cover ISDs are the laws that higher education has to follow, especially junior colleges. So there's not one clear body of law, and TASB distinguishes between their policies for their ISDs, what portion of that also applies to junior colleges, and then chapter 130 takes over with respect to all the other areas.
And honesty, it creates work. All right. All those in favor of the motion that's been accepted for update number 27, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against by nay. That motion carries.